Whoa, buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
This is my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday. Your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator, and live around the world on the interwebs at michaeldukeshow.com, where you'll find links to the audio-only stream, links to the podcast, links to our social media sites where we simulcast the radio show every morning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and so much more. So good morning and welcome to the program. It is that one day a week that we dedicate to the 2A stuff, and we do that because otherwise we'd be drug into a 2A conversation every single freaking day, right? We have to focus it on one day because it's our favorite topic, and we'll just, it's crazy to crazy. Anyway, today, great show lined up for you today. Been a hot minute since we've had a chance to talk with our friend Darwin Nercesian, who writes for the Firearms News and several other outlets. We're going to talk with him today. He is fresh and hot off the grill. He's hot off the trail. He's hot. He's hot. I mean, I can even admit that in my manliness. He is hot off the trail of SHOT Show. And he's going to give us a full rundown of everything that's happening there. He's going to be joining us here in hour 1. In fact, he's going to be joining us right now as we go through here.
Oh, you got me mid-laugh.
Darwin,
Thank you, Michael.
Darwin Nercesian joins us. Hello, my friend. How are you doing today? What's how's life treating you?
Yeah, you know what? We've done this a few times, Michael. So anytime I'm with you in the morning, I'm happy. I'm good. I'm in great spirits. How are you?
It's been it was a great holiday season. It's been a couple months, 3 months since we talked. So I thought it was time to kind of reach out to you and see how things were going. It's been great. We're enjoying it. Some interesting times, some perilous times that we're living in right now. So we'll get into that later on in the hour, but definitely some interesting things happening. But you, my friend, I'm a little jealous because you have just recently been to SHOT Show. Now, I've only been to SHOT Show one time. Now, it was time. Yeah, no. Well, I'm in Alaska. I got a lot of things going on, and that was 15 years ago. And when I went to SHOT Show, it was in Orlando, Florida. So that was quite a trek for us, But now it's in Vegas every year. So maybe next year we'll get to it. But
I wish NSSF would change that. I don't think it should be held in Las Vegas anymore. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that there's some history there and everything else, but it is kind of centrally located. I don't know where else would you hold it if it weren't for Vegas? Where else would you want to hold it?
I don't know. My issue with it is mainly we go and we spend all this money in Vegas. NSSF spends a lot of money in Vegas. And we have our annual trade show there, this huge thing. And you know what, the town, the casinos, the hotels, they don't appreciate us. They appreciate our money, but they don't appreciate us. Getting into a hotel, like let's say if you bring your CCW and this and that, they make it a huge hassle. And a lot of the hotels won't even let you, if they think you've brought a CCW into the hotel, they'll want to take it from you until you leave. It's just not, in my opinion, a 2A friendly space. And I think if we're going to spend untold, millions of dollars on a show like this every year, let's take it to a 2A friendly space and, support people who support us.
Right. Well, you could always have it in Fairbanks, Alaska. Somebody just said you could always have it in Fairbanks. In January at 45 below, perfect place to have SHOT Show.
Maybe the time of year needs to be changed too, but I'll say this about SHOT. No, I think January is pretty strategic, but I'll say this: if you're jealous that I'm hot off the SHOT Show trail, I gotta tell you, I've always been jealous that you're up there in Alaska. I think Alaska's gorgeous. It's for someone like me, it's a great place to live because I like to be off the beaten path, and
right.
I don't like to live anywhere near anyone else. So
right.
I'm a little jealous of you.
You can come down to my neck of the woods, and we're pretty much far away from anything down here.
Careful what you asked for.
Hey, it's the Riviera of Alaska down here. Anyway, SHOT Show is always a lot of fun. I still remember it. It's one of the highlights of my adult life, of being able to go down there and enjoy that. And really get to meet a lot of people, to see a lot of the the latest and greatest, to get all the little knickknacks that they always have at the tables there. And,
yeah.
And, I remember walking around, I had a rolling file box that I brought with me where I was putting, all the new brochures and the new information on everything. And man, it was a treasure trove of information and everything. And of course, getting a chance to meet a lot of people, and a lot of people that I had been reading, or that I had seen on the internet, or that I had talked to. It was a great opportunity to network with a lot of those folks. And I still have a lot of great friends from meeting. I remember I had dinner with Larry Pratt when I was
that's awesome.
When I was down there from Gun Owners of America, and it was a fantastic deal. Anyway, so what's the latest and greatest from SHOT Show? That's the first thing we want to know. What's your overall take, politics aside, all the current events aside, from the industry standpoint? What's your take on the state of the gun industry coming out of SHOT Show?
Well, the big question along those lines that I got asked a lot at SHOT Show was, is there any theme of this year's show? And there definitely was, and that theme was silencers. With the new $0 tax stamp, which by the way is a half measure, and I can't talk about it positively without saying this. It's a half measure. We did, we were thrown under the bus, and I hate that the NFA exists, or that these items, short-barreled firearms and suppressors and AOWs, I hate that they're still on the NFA. I hate that the administration and the Department of Justice is challenging the big, beautiful lawsuit. However, with the $0 tax stamps, the silencers really did become sort of the spotlight of the show, which is great because it's about time. I'm someone that has tinnitus in both my ears. I've had it for years. It's I can't sleep without the television on because I can't stand the high pitched buzz in my ears. So it's about time that silencers become more available to the public, and that was really, in my opinion, the theme of the show. I also kind of felt like this year a lot of people brought out a lot of new products that unfortunately I'm interested in because so I already see the wall behind me, but as a gun writer, people send stuff to be reviewed all the time. So I'm not comparing myself to the great Clark Kent, but I do feel like Superman in his Fortress of Solitude, because I'm literally surrounded 360 degrees by this. So it's really cool. But when you think you've got it all and you're like, I don't need anything else, and you go to SHOT Show and all of a sudden it's a great show, you're like, oh man, I there's so many things here I need. Like, how am I going to justify this to my significant other? Like, how do you do that? So,
right, you got to take a loan out before you go to SHOT Show just to be able to buy all the cool stuff as you go through. And that's any obsessive form of hobby or passion project is going to be like that. You need you need one more thing. And yeah, when I went to SHOT Show, I remember it was the first time I ever got to hold a rifle that I was just fascinated by. It was a Keltec RFB. It was that forward a forward ejecting 308 bullpup rifle, and it wasn't even out on the market. It was 10 months before it was out on the market, and I had already held it and ogled it and drooled over it and everything else. So I mean, I definitely understand coming away from SHOT Show with like, "Ooh, I need one or two of those."
Yeah,
and the silencer thing, which I want to get into in the next segment here, we'll get into it. But yeah, anything new? And I hear that there's a lot of new innovations. I saw Brownells comes out with a. When it wasn't Brownells, it was somebody just came out with a budget line of silencers as well on top of everything else.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of that.
Everybody's getting into the game. So what did you see out there? Anything new?
All right, well,
logically wise, or what are we looking at?
If let me plug a few people, but since you started on Keltec, I really want to start there. I feel like the Keltec guys are just, they're so much fun, and for the people who haven't necessarily connected with sort of the theme of their firearms, and what they do, their business. Keltec, they're not necessarily making things that they want to send out to like tier 1 units to go overseas and do all that rad stuff, right? They're making guns that are affordable, let everyone, exercise their Second Amendment rights, and fun. They're fun. So I'm going to plug Keltec here because, I've always thought the Sub 2000 was cool. I liked it when they made it so you can twist it while you're folding it so that you can have your sight on there. And, I thought that was all great. But now they came out with this Sub 2000 SD or CQB. It's got an integral suppressor as a barrel. So you're still 16 inches, but no additional length for the suppressor. It's all suppressed. So I think that's really, really cool. I've been talking to them, and I definitely want to review one of those. Keltec was awesome. Armasight just released a bunch of really cool night vision and thermal optics. Their Pro Series line, their stuff was already top notch, but incredible now. Like the resolution and processing in their thermal sights. So if you guys are hunting and going out at night, I mean, I was just playing around in my neighborhood last night, looking into like the darkest part of the tree line I could see, and with night vision, I couldn't, I could see clearly, but I couldn't make things out necessarily. You bring up the thermal clip on, and oh my gosh, like the deer and everything just come out of the woodwork. It's amazing. So I thought that was cool. Pulsar came out with, I mean, they're kind of expensive, but like I don't know how I'm going to live without them. They came out with binoculars that are day, night, thermal capable. So you can just switch them from day to night vision to thermal, and they have a built-in laser rangefinder that they say is good out to 1,600 plus yards. So if you're a long range shooter like me, you're like, what do I do with my life if I can't own a set of these? But you can imagine, they're up there. I think they're just over like $8,000 retail. So my taste has gotten a little bit, expensive.
Again, you got to take out a second mortgage to buy one piece of equipment. You may have stumbled onto something that was not good. And you're right. I'm liking this. I'm looking at it. I mean, to me, this is a great time to be alive as a member of the gun culture and a Second Amendment supporter. Of watching, of having lived through the '86 FOPA and watching some of these chinks and chips being chipped away on the NFA. The fact that you can now, that integrally suppressed firearms are going to become, I think, part of the new norm is a pretty amazing deal. And I like to see the leaps and to me, because there's been such a small window of competition on suppressors and everything else has been very niche because, again, not everybody wanted to buy them. I think we could see a technological leap forward just because now every Tom, Dick, and Harry is going to get involved.
So it is. And there's going to be some stuff out there that will end up proving to be, inadequate, I'm sure. But I think the majority, their information's out there, especially with 3D printing technology and all that I think we're going to see some really, really good products. You know what? I also kind of want to tell you guys, like, I just wrote an article for, it was for thetrutheaboutguns.com. It was just published, and it was on like my spotlight manufacturer at SHOT Show, and just the company to watch this year. Again, remember, if you get mad at me for plugging expensive stuff, I did plug Keltec first, okay? But Jacob Gray Firearms, like, have you heard of these guys?
I haven't, but it sounds very exclusive just based on the name. It's like David Spade, Jacob Gray, Michael Kors. I'm sure it's way up there in there. What's it about?
I mean, they make ARs and AR-10s and stuff, but really what they're known for is like a 2011 style pistol, double stack 1911. And, those have made a huge resurgence. Staccato had a lot to do with that. But Jacob Gray is a smaller company that is growing rapidly. It is they're an aerospace engineering company that the owner, Jacob Gray, I think it's Brackett. He grew up with hunting. He grew up with guns. He loves guns. So they took all their aerospace, savvy and redirected it towards building these guns. And you can tell they're very, very nice. They sent me what was called a TWC Black, which I reviewed for several outlets last year. And the thing was amazing. They sent me a threaded barrel for it also. It shot great suppressed and unsuppressed. I was so enamored. Like I just fell in love with this company. And then throughout the rest of 2025 and at SHOT Show, they were releasing, things like their Nox 9 and their their Hex Pro. And I mean, these things, they feel amazing. They're Jacob Gray. That's a company to watch this year.
I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to getting back to SHOT Show and hobnobbing with you and David and Chris Chang and Rob Pincus and all my buddies who I've been known for years, and we'll finally get a chance to hang out and do that. It's on my bucket list for the next couple of years here. I just had to I didn't tell you. Yeah, I'll tell you during the break. It's about my personal stuff here.
Oh, okay.
But I'll tell you during the break here about what I've been doing over the last few months here, and we'll get into that. But we're talking with Darwin Nercesian. He writes for a bunch of different outlets. Firearms News is probably one of the bigger ones, Truth About Guns. And we're going to continue with him here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Dukes Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll continue. Up next, we're going to talk a little bit about this suppressor issue. And we're going to talk about some of the things that are good and bad. And we'll actually talk about the fight over suppressors that's going on right now in court, and we'll discuss that here in just a few moments. We'll be back with Darwin Nercesian, the Michael Dukes Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
Today's recipe is the important Alaskan news of the day with a dash of sardonic smile, a pinch of eye twinkle, not that you can see that on the radio, and a touch of acidity. It goes down easier like that. Don't question our recipes. The Michael Dukes Show.
Okay, we're in the break. Darwin Nercesian is our guest. Darwin, you should be able to see the little timer over my head, and that's when we come back to the radio. So we got to shut up by the time it hits 0. So of course, you and I had talked last year. I bought the radio, so we're into year 1. This is the first year of owning the radio stations. Had a great year. Continuing on for that. And now we're down here in Homer. You want to be away from people. I mean, there's people around, don't get me wrong, but you want to be far away from pretty much everything else and have the ocean and everything else. This is the place to be, baby. This is the place to be down here. I'm telling you right here. This is it. And you dolled your studio up. You got a lot of, I can tell you've been doing a lot more video interviews over the last few months.
Yeah, there's been a lot more requests, and something I wanted to tell you about. It's funny is, the last couple of years, especially this year, there's a lot of people who want to chase me down and get a word with me at SHOT Show, and I don't think that's something I'll ever get used to. And it's really flattering, and I love talking to everyone. But it's funny, like I still love SHOT Show for the reason that like I get to go and see my friends and everything, but also meet people who I think are really, really cool and who I've looked up to for a while.
Right.
I know most of the influencers, but like I got to meet, for instance, I got to meet Brock this year from Brass Facts.
Right.
And if you know his channel on YouTube, like very organic content, he's a great content creator. I watch everything he puts out, but I've never met him. So I ran into him at the Geisley booth this year, and I was like, I felt like I was one of those fanboys. I'm like, Brock, I've always wanted to meet you. So that was cool. I really wish I don't know if David Cadrea was there, but I really wish I could have hung out with him in person.
Oh man, yeah.
Are you
David,
familiar with David Fortier?
I've heard of David Fortier. I've never spoken to him. David Cadrea and I have known each other for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
He is a hell of a guy. He was just on the show right before Christmas. We had him on the show. But yeah, I mean, I've met and talked to and known a lot of these guys for years, several of them at a long distance.
Yeah.
But getting a chance to meet him. But like I said, one of the highlight of my memories was sitting down with Larry Pratt, who was the president of Gun Owners of America at the time. And having a dinner with him and just hanging out and chatting and getting a chance to meet some really great folks. And that's what SHOT Show for me was really all about.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree. I like on Sunday before SHOT Show, like I was invited to the PSA dinner, and I'm sitting here eating dinner with so first of all, the crew from PSA is you can't ask for better people. They're really nice folks. But I'm sitting here eating dinner with Jamin, literally the founder of PSA. Like that's pretty surreal to have an opportunity to do that. And of course, Jamin's a really, really good guy. He's a nice guy, and the dinner went great. But like I was mentioning David Fortier, he's my executive editor at Firearms Use Magazine, and my editor-in-chief is Vincent De Niro, and these guys are very old school, have so much experience, and it's experience that like I've learned from and I've grown from, become a better writer from. And David is like this prolific writer, like David Cadrea, and they've won all these real awesome writing awards and David Fortier was embedded with our troops in Iraq, and
right.
So like I'm literally hanging out with guys who are like my gun industry heroes for a long time. I mean, I write for TFB also, and I was at the TFB party and just hanging out with James Reeves, and we actually had this discussion. And he goes, "No, I'm a big fan of yours too." And I'm like, "Come on, James, get out of here!" And he punched me in the shoulder. He literally punched me and was like, "If I said it, I meant it." So here you go.
That's great.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
It's so good. Remind me in the next break. I'll tell you my story. One of my favorite stories at a SHOT Show from when I went in 2010. It was 16 years ago. That's how long ago it's been since I think 2010, 2011. But anyway, it was a great time. All right. Darwin Nercesian, our guest. We're 20 seconds out. We're about to rejoin the radio. We're going to get to it. So please like and share, like and follow, subscribe, ring the bell, get more people involved. Hit the YouTube thing, the ring, the ding the bell, and do all that stuff. And we'll get back into it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Okay, I'm a little bit early. I'm 5 seconds early, so I got to fill for 5 seconds. Here we go. Let's do it. Let's do it now. Here we go.
What the hell's an assault weapon?
If we could just figure out how to get all of the murder guns and the attack guns and not keep selling those to people and just sell protection guns, I think that would be great and solve a lot of problems.
Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
Yep. That's right. I looked at the tag when I bought mine and said, does this say murder guns, attack guns? No, it's protection guns. And I'm sure Darwin Nercesian does. That's probably the first thing you do when you you check the tag, right? Make sure all protection guns, right?
Yeah. I mean, people say the silliest things, but I got to say, like the recordings that you have, like that you play on the show, just kill me. They crack me up every time. Like that was one of them. I love that stuff.
Yeah, no. That gal, that video is like 12 years old, and it went viral. I think it was one of the videos that launched that gal's career for a while. She had a lot of great commentary for a while. It's all parody, but it's just so funny.
Yeah,
to watch that. Well, let's talk a little bit here about suppressors. And you've taken a little heat because you have not been as gentle as many on the right or in the gun culture about the Trump administration's handling of the NFA. And of course, the one big beautiful bill had a lot of provisions in it. We thought for a while there that they were going to strip suppressors and short barrel rifles and AOWs. We thought they were going to strip them completely out of the NFA, and instead we got this kind of half measure where they reduced and zeroed out the tax cost component of it itself, but you still have to supply. Walk me through your thoughts here. I know you wrote back in December about you said duplicitous bedfellows, and talked about Trump and Bondi and their lukewarm defense of the Second Amendment in regards to the NFA.
Yes. So, and I've got another article coming out on Firearms News, I believe today, which is going to touch on that subject, but it's more based on some of the comments from, a lot of Trump's, best appointees, right? After the Minneapolis shooting. And now guys like, Kash Patel, and we got Kristi Noem and Scott Bissett, talking about guns. Like, why are we talking about guns? We shouldn't be. But anyway, going back to the point, the Trump administration and the DOJ, and I'm going to look, I don't want to, I know that people are going to hit me up today and be like, oh, so you would rather have Kamala? No, I wouldn't.
No, he was the obvious choice between the two. But again, at some point, I often say this, sometimes our elections seem to be like this dichotomous question of, would you rather have a diarrhea milkshake or a poop sandwich? And you're like, wait, is there a third choice? Can I choose? Can I have the non-crappy option, please?
Yeah. I love that episode of South Park, by the way. but yeah, no, that's really what it is. And look, I voted for Trump 3 times. So I did support him in the elections. He wasn't my choice in the 2016 primary. I really like Ted Cruz. He's a constitutional conservative. He's successfully negotiated cases in front of the Supreme Court. And I trust him when it comes to the Constitution. But anyhow, my thing is, if you look at some of the measures that the Trump administration and the Department of Justice have taken to protect the Second Amendment, there's nothing that isn't easily reversible by the next administration. These tax stamps could go to $4,000, on a whim in a reconciliation bill. Right. I'm sure that the current Senate parliamentarian will let Democrats do whatever they want, rather than do what she did, during our reconciliation bill, which was strip the big beautiful bill of, some very meaningful provisions that would protect the Second Amendment. So, I think everything they've done that we really like is easily reversible, and all the big stuff is a real problem. And, I think that the debate over this Department of Justice and the Trump administration being pro Second Amendment ended just significantly, just clearly ended when the Department of Justice challenged the big beautiful lawsuit. And I cover that in my update articles, because on that lawsuit, they should have said, yes, there is Supreme Court precedent saying that you cannot have a tax that doesn't generate revenue. And they should have recognized that, conceded the argument, and said, yeah, you win. These are off the NFA. Instead, they're challenging it. They're trying to use things like, the Commerce Clause, and right, what they're going to do. And it's like, okay, well then the debate is over. You're not a pro 2A administration. You're not a pro 2A Department of Justice. We know that now, and we can move on. You got your votes. You got what you wanted. You got your people confirmed, and you don't need us anymore. Right. And this is just something like, I don't hate the guy. It's not like that. It's something that we need to be better about when we hold people accountable, before we give them our votes. And like Kash Patel, who is this guy? What's his firearms history? What firearm did he purchase? What was his first firearms purchase? This is all in my article that's coming out today for Firearms News Magazine. So we're at Firearms News Magazine, and at most of the places I work, we're more, we're not tied to any one politician or political party. We're tied to the Constitution, and specifically to the Second Amendment. And I'm going to keep going hard on anyone who doesn't respect the Second Amendment.
Well, look, I mean, this is not a cult of personality where everybody does everything right. I mean, you can vote for the guy, you could vote for a candidate and still call them out when they're doing wrong. In fact, it's your duty to call them out, your side out. It's your duty to, it's even more important for you to call out your side when they do something wrong. And we've talked about, Trump's comment after Parkland of taking the guns and worrying about due process later, his elimination and revocation of the bump stock bans. And now we have this. We've got this latest thing that just happened with Minnesota, which we'll talk about in the third segment here. But this thing where Bondi and company and the Department of Justice is trying to defend the NFA, I mean, it's unconscionable. We understand that the parliamentarian is in the pocket of the Democrats. We understand that. But the fact that the DOJ is not out there banging on this and then just dismissing cases that are pro 2A, like you said, he got what he wanted. He got our vote. He did some good 2A things, right? I mean, there's a few things that he's done that have been okay, but for the most part, it's what, remember when they talked about the privateers and the pirates, there was that thing called the flag of convenience, right? Where you run the flag of the country that was most convenient, that would keep you out of the most trouble. And that's what he's doing here. He's running a flag of convenience for the Second Amendment crowd. What kills me on this whole NFA thing is that that without the tax, there is no legal justification. In fact, back in 1937, after the NFA passed in 1934, there was a case that was actually run. It's Sunzinski versus the United States.
1937, I think.
Yeah, 1937, and it challenged Congress's ability to have this NFA, and they won the case based on the power of taxation, that they didn't have the ability to restrict rights and the Second Amendment in that way, but they did have the power to tax it. And now that you've eliminated the tax, well, that pretty much revokes every other opportunity to manipulate or to regulate this. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a losing battle for them if it gets up to the Supreme Court. And I just find it irritating that the Trump administration continues to push forward on this and other cases.
Yeah. And just to address Sunzinski in 1937, I mean, that was it's really embarrassing, right? Because you're essentially saying, well, we can't take away your Second Amendment, so we'll tax your Second Amendment. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Right. And pushing the NFA into, a lot of people never knew this, but the NFA isn't in any legal code. It's in the tax code. Right. Yet when we go to remove things from the NFA, which is strictly in the tax code, a parliamentarian tells us, well, we can't do that. That doesn't pass the bird bath. Well, then where would it? So it can't be argued from, a legal code standpoint, but you're saying that even if it's in the tax code, we can't argue it from a reconciliation standpoint. So it's literally the NFA is like this infallible thing that can never be challenged. Like, these people are so corrupt. I'm just going to keep calling them out. And everyone already knows, like, it's not a secret. The NFA is just a middleman to delay your rights on what is normally a regular NICS check. You could just have your store submit it and take your suppressor home. That's all it is. You're sending a bunch of paperwork to the ATF, and now they're doing it quicker, but they're essentially forwarding it to NICS, getting an approval. Why do we even have to do that? That's right. Insane. That's crazy. Right. So and it's just like the government doesn't think we know that they buy $20,000 toilet seats for Venezuelan parks and recreation, like, and that money ends up just getting embezzled back into the pockets of their campaigns and ultimately makes its way into their bank accounts. And that's why these civil servants have untold millions, right, on their public salary. So, like, we know about the American people. We're not stupid. We know about these things, right? But they keep just playing dumb and thinking that we're dumb.
And like you said, they could change it on a heartbeat with a reconciliation bill. I've often pointed out that in 1934, when the NFA was passed, and the whole court case of U.S. v. Miller was about, that was the upholding of the NFA, and that had to do with he had a shotgun that was a half inch or an inch too short for the NFA. This idea that it's not an infringement. It's a $200 tax on a $5 shotgun. right? That's the thing. That's what most people don't understand. A $200 tax, which has remained unchanged since 1934, today, I mean, we're talking about that's a $5,000 or $6,000 tax in today's money from that $200 because it's never been adjusted for inflation. So you go to buy a $500 gun and you got to pay a $2,000 tax. Tell me that's not an attempt to infringe on the right and slow down the exercise of that right.
Oh, it absolutely is. But, you know, more than just a financial thing, though, the one thing I always point out on the NFA is the penalties. I mean, the penalties are so severe for what? For what? Look, I mean, and when I say the penalties are so severe, I'm not even just talking about jail. Okay. Look at Ruby Ridge. Like, children and women lost their lives, you know, for what? Because a shotgun was, you know, a couple millimeters shorter than what the NFA said it. People lost their life. It's not even the jail. The jail time is stupid. It's ridiculous. But, you know, getting killed in a shootout,
right?
That's insane.
Yeah, go ahead.
Over what? A couple millimeters? Like, for what?
Exactly. The fact that you could be jailed for up to 10 years and $250,000 for the fact that your rifle or your shotgun is half an inch too short, or like you said, a couple millimeters too short, is just, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. But that's where we are today. That's what we're looking at. All right, we're going to touch base on the president's latest comment and what's going on in Minnesota. And we're going to talk after we get done with Darwin. We're going to dive down into that Minnesota thing because it's tragic, and we've got some problems that are going to come out of it. So we'll continue this in just a moment. Back with more. And Darwin Nercesian, The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, Darwin Nercesian, our guest here on the program. I just saw that Bill. Where's Bill's comment? He said, "Where is it? Boy, it just went right by me." He goes, "Oh, here he goes. Coffee tastes better in a Michael Duke Show mug on Firearms Friday." I delivered Bill a new mug. He was shorted a mug, so I delivered him a new mug here the other day.
That's awesome.
And he got it. He got it. So he's enjoying a little coffee out of the Michael Duke Show mug.
I bet that's true. I bet that coffee does taste better.
It tastes delicious. It's got a little beard flavor in it, so it's all good. Anyway, what was somebody else said, well, we were talking about when we said have SHOT Show in Fairbanks. You got to understand how big. There's not a facility in Anchorage that's large enough to house SHOT Show. You got to understand how big SHOT Show is. I mean, it is. Somebody else said, well, we could use the Kenai Rex, the sports complex and convention center. The SHOT Show is 10 times the size of the Kenai Sports Rec and Sports Show Center. 10 times. It's at least 8 or 9 times larger than the Carlson Center in Fairbanks. It's 8 times larger than the Sullivan Arena. It is huge. And I mean, there's how many people? Do you know how many people go through? It's got to be 30 or 40,000 people, right?
I think it's more. I don't know, but I can put it in perspective really easy for you though. So the show, after the range day and the Gundies and stuff that happens on Monday, the show goes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now Friday is kind of a day. Everyone's always like trying to sneak their stuff to pack it up to get out as early as possible. But it is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So my body really held up well, and I was on my vitamin C, and I hit the floor hard this year. Walked all those days. walked so much that when I came in the door, Becky was like, I think you lost like 25 pounds in Las Vegas in the last week. It made a difference. Like, so anyway, given all that, I didn't come close to seeing.
No.
I didn't see half. I didn't even see half a SHOT Show. And I was walking miles a day.
Yeah.
Not even half.
Yeah. If it takes 3 or 4 days for you to walk even, half or 3/4 of a show, you know how big it was.
Yeah.
Brian just did me the solid here. He came up in 2025, the attendance numbers at SHOT Show, 54,000 people at SHOT Show. It's a huge deal.
That makes sense.
I'll tell you quickly my story here that I love at SHOT Show. I'm going around, I'm seeing all these things, and it's not just guns. Obviously, there's accessories and everything else. And I came across the booth for Spyderco. And for those of you who know, Spyderco is a knife manufacturer, a pocket knife manufacturer. I'd had a Spyderco knife for years. I love them. And there's a bunch of people standing around the table, and I was just talking to them like, man, I really wish you guys still made this Mariner knife, which I had for many years. And I said, because it was the great knife. It was so good. It was just handy. It's this sheep's foot blade, which doesn't have a direct point, and everything. And I said, I just loved it. I had it for so long. And they're like, yeah, we had it and blah, blah. And I said, man, I just loved it. There's this lady there. We were talking. And I said, it's too bad you guys don't have it anymore, because it was one of my favorite knives. And I lost it about 3 years ago. And I just have never been able to find another one. It's just so, she goes, oh, we got talking, and I left my card for the show. Cause I said, one day I'd love to talk to you guys about what you do and everything. And this gal who was behind the counter, I get this package in the mail like a month later, and I open it up, and it's got her. I didn't get her card. She's the president of the company. And in the box is a brand new prototype of their brand new Mariner V2 version 2 of this knife that had extra cutouts and some other stuff that made it better. And she just was like, great talk to you at SHOT Show. And it was the coolest thing ever,
That's awesome.
that you get a chance to talk to people. And I get, the president of the company sends me a knife because I guess I talked him up so much about how much I loved him. But there's a lot of great things at SHOT Show. It was a great experience. And now you got me thinking about, how can I get there next year? We got
just a plane flight away.
It is a plane flight, and I could go as either a vendor or as press. You went as press, I'm assuming. So you got.
I went as media. So and I've already had things since SHOT Show ended. I've already had things arrived. Just had some flamethrowers arrive from Exothermic, so I'm going to be reviewing some flamethrowers, and that's pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff coming. I'm going to be backed up on reviews for the rest of the year, I think, because of SHOT Show, but that's okay. It's a good problem to have. And I work with a lot of great companies, doing a lot of stuff with Springfield Armory and, some other, Jacob Gray and a lot of other folks. So Q is a big one. Love Q. They've been doing a lot of great. So you can see a lot of Q stuff behind me here. Pretty excited about everything.
Pretty good stuff. All right. Well, let's get into it. Here we go. We're just a couple seconds out. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Here we go.
What the hell's an assault weapon? What isn't? If I assault you with a penguin, doesn't that make it an assault weapon? Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
I mean, those assault penguins, they're pretty vicious.
Yeah. This assault radio can be pretty vicious.
I know. It's true. It's true. You give me an assault penguin and a trunk monkey, and we could take over the world. That's what's going on, those two things. Darwin Nercesian, author and writer for Firearms News, The Truth About Guns, and more, comes on board to talk with us today. We've talked about SHOT Show. We've talked about the new suppressor thing. Let's get into Minnesota real quick. Because we've already seen, we were talking in the previous segment about how we're disappointed. Both you and I are both disappointed in the behavior of the Trump administration on that. And then right after the Minnesota shooting, a couple things stuck out to me right out of the gate. Within an hour, maybe, I think there was a tweet from the Department of Homeland Security or the Border Patrol that basically said, this guy was intending to massacre us all. That was the first red flag for me. And then we had this, and I apologize, the audio quality isn't great because the president was standing next to a helicopter, but this is President Trump's comments on firearms when questioned about what happened in Minnesota.
With that being said, you can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns. You just can't. And you can't, listen, you can't walk in with guns. You can't do that. But it's a very unfortunate incident.
You can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns. You just can't do that, which is factually incorrect. I mean, factually incorrect. You can have guns. You can have, in fact, Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, just reiterated yesterday that you can have guns at a protest in Texas. You are legally allowed to carry openly and whatever. I mean, this is part of the problem. But in some ways, as much as a tragedy as this is, I also see it as a push because it's putting a lot of people are starting to get informed on the laws, both left and right, both pro-ICE and anti-ICE, and they're starting to get into it and realize the legalities of these kind of things. And I think that the Renee Good shooting, I think that was questionable but justifiable, right? I mean, the situation was questionable, but the actual outcome was justifiable. This one, so far, I've been studying it all week. I think this is a mess. I think this was a non-legitimate shoot on this case. But again, I think people are going to start getting more informed. And in fact, they were talking yesterday about how in the Minneapolis area, personal firearms trainers and concealed carry trainers have seen a 400% increase in interest in people wanting to get their concealed carry from all walks of life because they're worried about ICE or they're worried about riots or they're worried about whatever. Give me your take here on what's going on now in Minnesota from a Second Amendment perspective.
Awesome. So my article that's coming out today is going to cover all this, and I'm really happy to share that with you. So look, first of all, we can't call these people protesters. We just can't. If you're peacefully protesting and gathering on the sidewalk and following lawful orders from law enforcement authorities, that's a protest. If you keep jumping out into the middle of the street, approaching ICE officers as they're conducting their investigation and doing their duties, blocking traffic, doing all these things that they're doing, you're now an agitator. Or something other than a protester. So I'm taking the word protest, off the table completely. So that's one issue. The other issue is it's a human condition where both sides, of any argument want to be, completely infallible in their opinion. And the truth is more in the middle, typically. Like in this particular case, I don't think it was a good shoot. But I was talking to somebody the other day who was, a friend of mine who used the word execution. I'm like, what was it? It definitely wasn't an execution either. It was something tragic that happened in the fog of war where people are yelling gun, gun, gun. People are afraid. As soon as that agent, who it looks like he was reaching into the waistband to pull the gun out, as soon as he turned around and looked like he had taken the gun, that's when the shots went off. I don't think it was a good shoot, but I don't think it was deliberate. I think this was an accident that happens. And why does it happen? Well, it happens because you decide to come out here and agitate. You're no protesting, you're agitating,
right?
And you're breaking laws, while you're armed. So it's sad. I really didn't want anyone to die, but it's an inevitability the way the left is behaving. And I don't want to see it happen anymore, but it's gonna happen and our reasons, like the left is there's this big push now to be like, oh, the right, they're hypocrites, Second Amendment for them, but they don't want. No, we've been preaching to you about your Second Amendment rights for years while you've been trying to take them from us for years, right? So it's not that we don't respect your right to a Second Amendment. It's just that your reasons, your intent, it couldn't be further from our reasons and intent. We own guns and we carry guns for sporting purposes and defense of ourselves and our loved ones and anyone else who in a bad situation may need to be defended against someone who's set out to do evil. these guys, they're buying guns and saying, we're going to go agitate. And if you mess with us, we're armed now. Second Amendment, baby. And you're like, well, that's insane. You're just saying, basically saying, I'm buying a gun so I can participate in criminal activity and say that, if you challenge me, you're going to be challenging, an armed citizen. That's not what the Second Amendment's for. It's not for overthrowing the Constitution. It's not for getting in the way of lawful duties and listen, the federal government has a fiduciary duty and an obligation to the American public to protect and defend us, including our borders. So while these guys are, doing this important job, just because you don't like it, just because your side wants to, funnel in all these illegal votes and you think that this is the way forward, now you think, oh, well, I'm going to claim Second Amendment. No, you're in the commission of a crime. No, it doesn't work that way.
Well, that's the responsibility that the Second Amendment is.
Mm-hmm.
Responsibility is not only to be able to carry and be able to defend yourself, but to understand the legal framework that you operate under when you are doing so. That's why, although we are a constitutional carry state, I've always advocated that you take a concealed carry course, but because that course contains several hours of discussions with a law enforcement instructor who explains the use of deadly force and the legal ramifications of doing so and what you're legally obligated and allowed to do. You have to understand the law. It's not just strapping the gun to your hip and going, I'm going to go out there and be, be Billy Badass now or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do. We need to consider those things. But I am definitely not in the Second Amendment camp. I said, oh, he shouldn't have been armed. He shouldn't. No, he had every right to be, but he also had a responsibility to act appropriately when he was dealing with the public and especially with law enforcement. We got about a minute here, Darwin. I'll give you final thoughts.
Well, it's like that movie Liar Liar when Jim Carrey screams in that person's face, like, stop breaking the law, right? That's all it is. And you've got Anthony here in the chat talking about, you have the duty to avoid conflict. And he's absolutely right. Carrying is a responsibility. It's a responsibility that every American should have the right to, and every American, should understand these principles that we don't carry because we want to insert ourselves into dangerous situations and challenge people. We carry so that if throughout the course of our peaceful day, someone decides that they want to do evil on us or the people around us, that we can respond by doing good.
Absolutely. All right, Darwin Nercesian. You could find him at firearmsnews.com, also on The Truth About Guns. He's going to have a new article out today at Firearms News. We're going to be looking forward to that. My friend, thanks for coming on board. It's been great talking to you.
It's always great talking to you. Thank you, Michael.
All right, hold the line for a second. Folks, we got hour 2 dead ahead. We're going to dive into this Minneapolis thing. We'll be back with more right after this. Yeah, I mean, again, this is a challenging time. To me, it's just it's frustrating to watch this kind of stuff spark and sputter and burn, and then to watch the fumbling on both sides. I've seen some people who are great 2A people stumble on this point and talk about how, well, we shouldn't allow them to have guns. No, dude, the Second Amendment is forever. I mean, are you not an absolutist? I'm an absolutist. Right?
Yes.
Shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. And that's for everyone. And you trust them up until the point where they prove themselves to be untrustworthy. And then you do what you need to do, legally or whatever. But it's frustrating to watch, portions of the Second Amendment community kind of tear itself apart because they've got the Pavlovian response to immediately defer to what the president said or whatever their thing is. It's frustrating to watch.
Yeah. I think my message to people when it comes to the president is this: like, you voted for him, I voted for him. I go hard on him when I think he does wrong. I like the fact that he's protecting our borders. I like the fact that he's deporting people. As unfortunate as that is, I like the fact that he's deporting people who have sort of violated the sovereignty of our borders. But we need to be able to hold the people we vote for accountable. We don't need to hold them infallible. We need to hold them accountable. Otherwise, what are we doing? We're just, fanboying for a politician who probably really doesn't care about us or our rights or anything like that. So I think, it's good to it's good to, tie yourself to a set of principles and find someone in an election who, closely, follows those principles as close as we can possibly get within our choices. But we should never tie our self-esteem to these politicians. We shouldn't tie our self-esteem into consumer products that we purchase. And someone says, "Oh, I like this better than this," and all of a sudden there's a fight. We shouldn't do these things. It's really dumb.
Right.
Stick to your principles. Read the Constitution. Second Amendment. It's pretty clear. Anyone who violates that is either illiterate or corrupt.
Right. And I agree, and again, it goes back to the old discussion that I've been having. I mean, an article that I read 20 years ago that I brought out that talked about how sociopathy runs deep in every hall of power, that every politician, that the vast majority of them have a problem with sociopathy, and because they'll tell you what you want to hear just so they can retain the power, just so they can do what they want to do. And that is and that's problematic. And we need to quit focusing on them being the end all be all of the universe. And we need to focus on our own rights and stop listening to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. I was telling a friend last night, no 10 elections. I don't care if it's presidential, Congress, Senate, whatever. None of them are going to save this country with the direction we're going. The only people who are going to save this country are the citizens. That's it. That's how the founders knew it. The founders knew that when things got really, really bad, it would only be the citizens who will save this country. And I'm not talking about taking up arms. I'm talking about coming together, holding our politicians holding them responsible for even if we voted for them, it's okay. That's it. Because if we keep thinking, hey, it's this or this, it's always going to be this or this. We need to hold them accountable.
I couldn't agree more. All right, you rabble rouser, Darwin Nercesian.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. I wear that as a badge of pride. I'm just saying,
Yep.
Yeah. So, it's like they say. I guess you're not here to talk about the alcohol and tobacco, right? I mean, it's the.
I will say this. I'm going to plug someone here, Michael, if that's okay. One of my favorite things to do is a company I used to work for on site and a company I work for kind of remotely now doing some marketing, RTG Parts out of Wyoming. Like you mentioned alcohol. One of the most dangerous things I can do is have a few bourbons and go on their website, because I'm like, I can buy anything from like Magpul Mags to like a Russian Sager missile trainer, like in a wood chest that I can turn into the most badass coffee table in my neighborhood. So alcohol gets involved sometimes. I'm not a big drinker, but when I do, I spend money online. Gun broker and RTG Parts. Just
take his iPad away when he's had a few bourbons. It'll make it happen.
Yeah.
All right, Darwin, thank you so much, my friend, for coming on board. As always, it's great to talk with you, and we'll catch you next time. Okay.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thanks for being part of it today. We appreciate you talking with us today on Firearms Friday. All right, folks, we've got more to discuss. And we're going to get into this discussion on the Minnesota thing, because I think that, again, there's lessons to be learned from this. Anytime we have a shooting like this or a tragedy of some kind, we need to analyze it. We need to have that after action review. And I think that there's a lot of things to be learned from this. Maybe not the things that many of the mainstream conservative or liberal, quite honestly, outfits are talking about. But I think that there's plenty of things to talk about with this, and we're gonna get into this and talk about it just a bit. And by the way, we're not into absolutes here. We're not, and I'm not into the false arguments and the straw man arguments. Renee said, no one deserves to be killed. We're going to address that here in a minute. And then Frank said, oh yeah, Trump is 100% at fault. The leadership of Minnesota should receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Again, these are dichotomous arguments. They ring hollow. And we're going to talk about that here in just a moment as we continue on The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Back with more right after this.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast. Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Duke Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Duke Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Take my rifle, this is my gun. This is for fighting, it's for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Duke Show. Thank you for coming on board and joining us today on this one day a week that we dedicate to the Second Amendment and gun rights and discussions about gun stuff and everything else. Just finished up with Darwin Nercesian from the Firearms News and the Truth About Guns. He writes for both of those outlets. You can go out there and read him and see all that kind of stuff. Some great things. Went down in the last hour, and if you missed it, you can go back and listen to it on the podcast, and you can enjoy that at your leisure. You can leave. Somebody sent me a text message or an email here a few months ago that I forgot to mention. I was just thinking about it. They said, "Yeah, I love listening to your show," and I listened to it at about 1.25 to 1.5 speed, because then I get done with it. He just wants to rush through it. Anyway, it's a great opportunity to go back and listen to Darwin and our discussion, which I thought was a great one for today. This morning here in hour 2, we're going to focus a little bit here on this Minnesota thing and what's going on in Minneapolis and the ICE raids and everything else. And we don't normally cover national politics outside of gun rights because we're Alaska focused. That's what we do. But I do have some commentary on this because of the knock-on effects and the ramifications of what's happening inside the Second Amendment community over this latest incident, the shooting of Preddy, and what's going on there. And I want to say that first and foremost that people do make mistakes. People make mistakes and have bad judgment calls. It does happen. And that we should not be, again, I said it earlier in the program, but this is not a cult of personality where our guy is always right. And by our guy, I'm using that as a catch-all for the people on our side, right? And you could say that that's the president or whoever, but it's our guy is not always right. And in watching what's happening in Minnesota, and it has happened in other places, but Minnesota seems to be the flashpoint right now, Minneapolis, to this whole situation. What I'm seeing is a confluence of events, a confluence of bad decisions all the way around. And it is, and that's leading to kind of a very explosive situation. Now, as we talked about on the program, it was last week or the week before, I guess it was last week, the Renee Good incident was again tragic. It was avoidable. But in the end, the actions of those officers, and specifically the officer that fired the shot, was justified in that situation. Okay? In this instance, with Preddy, it was tragic. It was avoidable. And in my personal opinion, having watched at this point probably a couple hours of video from all the different sources that I could find, all the different video angles and everything that I could find, the analysis, the slow-mo, the zooming in and everything else, I think that we will ultimately discover that this was a non-justifiable shooting. That this was as Darwin said, a fog of war instance. And for those of you who don't know what the fog of war is, you should go Google it, because it explains where it's not war, but it's the discussion of unknown factors in the middle of a high stress combat style situation. And I think we need to take a step back and learn from this. Now, again, tragic and avoidable. Those are the two things. Those are the two things that are the same in these two instances. Tragic and avoidable. One ultimately justified. The other one, I think you're going to find that it's not justifiable. But extenuating circumstances, it may be found to be justified in the heat of the moment for a variety of other reasons. Because it's not just that one split-second minute, it's the totality of the actions. Now, let's address the Second Amendment issue is related to this as well. I completely disagree with anybody who says, well, that's why these protesters shouldn't be allowed to carry firearms. That's why these protesters should. I saw somebody say, well, that's why we shouldn't allow them to get fire. They should be put on a list. To which I say, what? What? Do you believe in the Constitution? Do you believe in freedom of decision and freedom of choice? Do you believe in the Second Amendment? Because what you just said is completely antithetical to my understanding of all of those things. I believe that everyone should have the right to arm themselves, whether they agree with me or not. Whether they are vehemently opposed, notice I didn't say violently opposed, vehemently opposed to policies that I support, or whether they're in lockstep with me. Everyone should have the ability to be able to protect themselves and be able to go about their daily lives, or to protest, or do everything else, and to be armed while they do it. So those voices in the Second Amendment community need immediately to rethink their drink. Okay? They immediately need to stop. And you know what? Play the substitution game. Play the substitution game. This wasn't an ICE raid that Preddy was involved in. This was an ATF raid. And Preddy was an anti-ATF guy. I'd like everybody to play the substitution game on that and see how they feel. Okay? He had the right to be there. He had the right to be armed while he was there. Okay, now, again, there's going to be some caveats here. There's going to be a caveat here. Okay? Don't get ahead of me. And Rick just said, just don't go to a violent protest when carrying. Okay, that's not what the law says, Rick. I mean, I know to you that makes sense, that you wouldn't go to a violent protest while carrying. But some people, if they're going to be there and they expect violence and they want to be able to protect themselves legally, lawfully, justifiably, then yes, they should carry. See, that's the problem. Well, just don't go to the... Again, extenuating circumstances, don't get ahead of me. Okay? Don't get ahead of me. So I think he had the right to be there. I don't believe that he should have been shot. But, oh, here it comes, Dukes. The big but. But there is also some of this responsibility falls on people like Preddy. Okay. To quote Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility. And when you carry a firearm, you are exercising great power. As we talked about, one of the first things that, when you have a firearm, you don't necessarily jump into the middle of a fray. You have a duty to de-escalate things, right? You have the duty. It was the Brady campaign or whatever, when concealed carry first started to be a thing 25 years ago, and the Brady campaign and whoever else it was going, oh, if you have this, there'll be blood in the streets. Somebody will have an argument and they'll draw a gun because they're armed. And of course that didn't happen. And we know that concealed carry holders are much less likely to commit crimes even than police officers. But that was the stipulation. That's what they said. If you have a gun, that's the first. No, because most people understand, especially those who've taken the time to learn, that if you have a firearm, your first duty is to avoid confrontation, to de-escalate, to retreat if you can. And quite honestly, your firearm should be used to cover you while you retreat if it's that kind of escalating situation. But if a firearm is not being called for, then you de-escalate or you leave. We all know that we're required in most states, including Alaska, that if you're carrying a firearm and you have a interaction and a not just a hi, how are you, but any kind of official interaction with law enforcement, that you must inform them that you are armed. Okay? We understand that there's great responsibility here. Now, I've heard all the arguments. Oh, he was protecting people. He was helping. He was doing this. He was doing that. So let me get to the other side of the blame here. The other side of the blame goes on Preddy. Because I know how he's being painted as a guy that was just trying to help people, or he was trying to do this or trying to do that. Obviously, there's a guy who, in my opinion, didn't understand the laws under which he was working. There's video of him earlier in the day at the same protest, kicking and attacking and spitting on officers and kicking he kicked the taillight out of an ICE vehicle, which, by the way, is a felony. That's destruction of public property while armed is a felony. Okay. So, and we've already seen the mindset. He was, again, spitting and kicking the car, spitting on the officers. And here's the biggest problem in all this. You can object to what the ICE agents were doing. You can object to that. I've got no problem with that. You could, stand in the street and shout at them. You could stand on the sidewalk. You can't stand in front of them and impede them. That's actually impeding it's impeding them. You're not supposed to do that, although they've allowed that for the most part. But when they come to you and they said you're being detained or you're under arrest or whatever, and they start wrestling with you, then you comply. That's the thing. You comply. And Preddy did none of these things. He went down there to be antagonistic. It wasn't a peaceful protest. I mean, again, he did several $100 to $1,000 worth of damage to a vehicle. I mean, he literally kicked the entire taillight assembly out of a vehicle while the officers were in it, while he was armed. And even if he hadn't done that, the fact that when the police officer is telling you that you're being detained, you don't fight back. If you think it's unlawful, if you think what they're doing is illegal, then guess what? You can take him to court and you can win there. but especially because he was carrying a firearm. You should lay still, especially if you're carrying a firearm. And then, of course, there's the question of whether or not this, again, I think that we're going to find out that this was not a justifiable shoot because the video shows the officer carrying his firearm away before the first shot. Although I have seen some video that shows that he was carrying a SIG 320, P320, which is known to have just random discharges, right? And there's one video showing a bullet strike on the ground, the first shot. And there's speculation that when the officer swung the gun around after taking it from the guy, that the gun may have discharged and that triggered the response from the other officers. I don't know if it's true or not. I've seen some of the video. It's not, again, I'm not 100% convinced, but the bottom line here is that it was the heat of the moment. There was all those officers on him. I don't think it was a legitimate shoot. But I think they'll probably be vindicated because, again, he was resisting them the whole time. How do you fight back when you're pepper sprayed? Not well. Not well. Now, somebody just said, Renee just said, no one deserves to be killed when we started talking about Minnesota. She said that. No one. I never said that anyone did deserve to be killed. Stop trying to put those false arguments out there. I never said that. I never even implied that. But that is the immediate go-to to try and sway people to a certain position. I never said anyone deserved to be killed. I don't believe anyone deserves to be killed unless they are a murderer, convicted, blah, blah, blah. Then I have no problem with it. But I don't think anybody else deserves to be killed. And that's on the one side, Renee saying that. And then Frank on the other side of the political spectrum comes back and says, oh, yeah, 100% Trump's fault. The leadership of Minnesota should receive the no. I never said that either. I never said that either. I said his reaction from a Second Amendment standpoint on this is disappointing. I never said it was 100% his fault. Ultimately, the blame and the fault can be spread evenly, in my opinion, between the officers who did the shooting and Preddy himself. He put himself in that situation, and instead of de-escalating appropriately, it escalated from his side and de-escalating from the officer's side. Everybody's blame to blame. Blame to blame. So, yeah, I think that there is a lot of problems here with this on both sides, but I don't think you can alleviate the blame from either side at this point. Now, these weren't brand new officers, by the way, either. Both of these officers had the good shooting and the other shooting. They both of them had, I think, almost a decade of training and experience between the two of them as ICE officers. So I think each of them had, 8 to 10 years each. So this wasn't some just rookie off the street that they just hired. But these situations, both sides need to take a step back. Both sides need to step back and stop with this. Well, and especially those on the right and the gun culture guys going, well, these shoot people. They should not be allowed to carry guns. Shut up. Are you hearing yourself right now? Again, play the substitution game. Play the substitution game and say this wasn't ICE and an anti-ICE protester. This was the ATF and a pro-2A protester. What would you think then? Of course he should be allowed to carry a gun. But again, we would expect him to understand the legality, the rights, and the responsibility of those actions. That's what I'm saying. And yeah, there's plenty of blame to go around in Minnesota. Why weren't the local police? It wasn't until they tried to burn down the Hilton that local police finally showed up to disperse these people. Where's the local law enforcement? Well, that blame can be put on the feet of the local authorities and the governor. Yeah. All right, we're going to go. Oh, Sam just got a great comment. We're going to come back to that here in a minute. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. We'll be back right after this.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. We are back. I've seen Lisa made a comment about AI video. I'm just looking here. For the viral video kicking false information. I'm looking here. From in a 2-minute video, news movement. I'm looking to see if some people are claiming it's an AI video where he kicks out the taillight, and some people are saying no, it's authentic, but confirms the BBC. The BBC confirms the authenticity of the viral video appearing to show Preddy kicking the agents' cars. It wasn't the same day. It was 11 days previous. I apologize. They confirmed the authenticity of their video in their 10 p.m. newscast yesterday. Facial recognition tools suggest a 97% match with gait recognition. And they said it's they were filming a documentary about ICE activities in Minneapolis when they received a tip that federal agents were blocking a street. So it's from the BBC originally, and they confirmed the authenticity of it. So it's not AI. Not AI, very real. And again, BBC is confirming the authenticity of it. So it is a real video. But there you go. I'm scrolling backwards here. Should I turn on the phones? So hard to tell. I guess I'll turn the phones on. We'll go with that real quick, shall we? Just in case you guys want to sound off on any of this stuff, we can do it. Give me the thing. Oh, there it is. Sorry. I'm a professional. That's what I do. It's going to be great. Don't worry about it. Okay. Whoops. Wrong one. Nope. Holy cow. There it is right there. Got it. All right. And here we go. Thanks. Okay. Phone lines are now hot. Phone lines are hot. Feel free to join. All right. So let's get the, whoa. Oh, man. So much today. What's going on with this today? All right. So here we go. Phone numbers are up. Pull that back down there where we don't need it. Okay. Phone lines are open and hot. If you want to participate, feel free to do so. Now's the time to do it. Okay. It's super glitchy. and I'm not convinced. I hope all the truth comes out. I'm sorry, Lisa, but it's the one I saw was not super glitchy. It was very clear. And again, BBC is confirming the authenticity of it. So, I mean, and again, if a news media outlet, a major news media outlet like the BBC was putting AI out there like it's real, I mean, it would destroy them. So I don't believe it, you know. But I do believe that it could be a talking point to try and discredit the video. That's the thing. I can believe that for sure. Okay. What did Frank say that the FCC has a law against? Is that a law or a regulation? Okay. I don't know what I can't keep up. I can't keep up. We're 12 seconds out. I can't keep up. Phone lines are open. If you want to sound off, 319-527-3864. I'm going to get to Sam's comment here in just a second, and we're going to continue, and we'll go on. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell.
What the hell is an assault weapon? Does that mean that if we hurt your feelings, you should consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can accept that. Here's Michael Dukes. Kind of a dick, but somewhat funny.
I think Sam encapsulated my feelings on a lot of that, on a lot of this in his last comment. By the way, phone lines are open. If you want to be part of the show here for this final segment before we get into Willie Waffle, 319-527-3864. But Sam makes a great comment here, and I'm going to, because I think it encapsulates what we've been talking about. He said the real internal test in determining what happened should be if the victim was aligned politically, would you, quote, I'm sorry, let me start again. Quote, if the victim was aligned politically with you, would your opinion of who's wrong change? Unquote. Most of the people saying he shouldn't bring a gun to a protest would have said so if he was a libertarian during the Obama administration. Right? I mean, I totally agree. This is what I talk about in the substitution game. In the substitution game, right? That if it wasn't anti-ICE and it wasn't an ICE thing and it wasn't an anti-ICE protester, what if it was the ATF and a Second Amendment protester? How would you feel? You know, when they talk about these laws about the Second Amendment, I said, well, substitute that for the First Amendment. Would that make sense? You need to take a look at this and analyze, if it was people on my side, how would I feel about that? And would it be right or wrong? Right? So Sam's got a very good point. That's the real internal test. If the victim was aligned with you politically, would your opinion of who was in the wrong change? Now, we already know that, I mean, going back to sorry, I just had a brain fart. There's plenty of blame to go around on this. Oh, I remember where I was going. Again, asking the question, if they were aligned with you politically, would your opinion change? Hey, remember, Tom Homan worked for the Obama administration. He received a presidential medal for his work in all this deportation. Somebody brought up an LA Times video interview from 2017, 2018, where CNN did a ride along with ICE, and they were deporting all of these, specifically criminals, illegals who were actually doing criminal activity as well. And again, the left was all okay with that. This has more to do with who's in charge than it does with the actual activity. Again, does it align with you politically or not? If the victim or the situation or the policy aligns with you politically, but or doesn't align with you politically, and you change your opinion, that's a problem. That's identity politics. That's what we're talking about right here. That's what we're talking about. It's that's the problem. So look, and I don't want to be reductive. I'm going to be reductive. I don't want to be reductive, but you can't just play stupid games and not expect to win stupid prizes. I am all for you being able to protest. I'm all for you being able to, and even if that means maybe even shouting in somebody's face, but not impeding them. Not when they tell you that you've stepped over the line and you feel like you're 100% in the right. Not just stopping what you're doing and offering your hands to be handcuffed, because again, that's how people get hurt. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to politely say FAFO, fool around and find out, right? You should have the ability to protest and do everything else, but it does not give you the right to break the law. And there are plenty of laws that you could break out there that you may not even be aware of. So you got to tread real carefully. That's the problem. You have a duty. And if you don't do that duty, that sounded weird. Anyway, just realized I got to go. We're going to be back. The Michael Duke Show. Common Sense, Liberty-Based, Free Thinking Radio. Okay. Petty wasn't wrong because he was carrying, or wasn't wrong because he was protesting and was carrying. He was wrong because he was fighting with police while carrying. That's right. That's what I'm saying. You can carry all day long. But when a police officer says you're being detained and attempts to throw you on the ground, you know what you do? You put your hands behind your back and you wait for them to arrest you. Even if it's wrong, even if you're like, this is 100% unlawful arrest, but I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to take you to court and own your ass. If you're convinced of that, because there's 5 of them around you, and do you think fighting them off is going to help? Or will it get you shot? Lisa, it wasn't just about the facial recognition. She's saying BBC said 97% facial recognition. It was gait recognition that I was actually mentioning. They did have facial recognition, but it was a 97% match with gait recognition. But anyway, I know, Lisa, it's not fake. Okay. Now, you did say you saw one. The original video said he broke a taillight. I saw a video that the whole vehicle fell apart. Well, that's obviously not. That's not what happened. He busted the taillight assembly out of the vehicle. He didn't kick the whole vehicle apart. I can see how you might think that video is AI. It's not. His video is not AI. Again, confirmed by the BBC, it would be suicide for them to stand behind something like that as a news organization. So anyway, it's, Chris says, but they didn't believe that they were real officers. Who didn't believe that they were real officers? The protesters didn't believe that ICE agents are federally sworn law enforcement. I don't know what more proof do you need? But more importantly, how stupid do you have to be when there's 6 guys around you who are armed and you're going to try and fight back while armed? Are you just asking for that? At that point, if you don't believe that they're true law enforcement and they're looking for any excuse to do violence to you, why would you give them the excuse? Right? DOJ opens a civil rights probe into the Preddy killing. I'm sure they will. And I'm sure that they'll find out that there's some blame on both sides. Okay, I've only got about 3 minutes. Fred called in. He called in a little bit late. Let's talk to Fred real quick, see what Fred has to say. Hello, Fred. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. This whole thing, I saw this yesterday on Big Chat and on the about the Trump's comment about guns. And originally, and it was put on by supposedly an admitted 2A supporter, a gun guy, which kind of scratching my head saying, wait a minute, the world must be falling apart here. This sounds more like Trump derangement syndrome than anything else coming from a 2A guy, which doesn't make any sense at all. However, you brought up a good point, which, Trump does have a tendency to kind of put his foot in his mouth from time to time before he actually, sits down and thinks the whole thing through. Like you said with the previously, with the comment he made before about take the guns, or about due process later. I think that was an off the cuff, momentary spurt where he really didn't, he should have thought it out a little more before he said that. And I think that this thing he said the other day is exactly the same thing. I think if you're going to do anything, ask Trump, sit him down now and say, what did you mean? Explain yourself. So maybe I have kind of.
Well, again, yeah, I mean,
give me opportunity.
Yeah,
give me opportunity to straighten it out.
You and I have talked about this before after the Parkland thing, where he talked about we'll take the guns and worry about due process later. I think his mouth runs at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and a lot of times he's not thinking things through. He's telling people what they want to hear. I think in a lot of ways, he's telling people what they want to hear. And what what he thinks is appropriate in the moment.
Right. Exactly. But the point is, I think what it boils down to, what does he really believe? That he should have the opportunity to at least address that. Before the Trump derangement people go nuts, try to turn this into the banter of the moment. What I mean?
Well, Fred, Bill is about to come out there and be with you. He's moving out to the East Coast for a little bit to hang out. So, Bill, maybe you and Bill should hook up later on.
Big mistake. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it, Bill. Don't do it, Bill. Don't do it. You're always welcome here, Fred. You can always come to Alaska and enjoy a little bit of time in God's country up here if you want. So.
We definitely got the Alaska weather this time. We got 18 inches of snow in one shot the other day. So
hey, it's 30.
It definitely feels like Alaska right here.
It's 39 degrees and raining right now, Fred. So I'm actually got better weather than you are. So anyway, thanks,
14
Fred.
degrees here.
Appreciate you, Fred. Thank you for calling in, my friend. It's good to hear from you. All right, well, we got to go. My phone is buzzing, and that means Willie is on the line. We're getting ready to do it. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Here we go.
Tune in Friday for our weekend entertainment and movie streaming review with our guest critic, Willie Waffle. That's actually his real name. Really? That's his real name? Man, his parents must have hated him. The Michael Duke Show.
That's right. The man, the myth, the legend in his own mind, Willie Waffle. He's got his own liner now.
Well, and I dig the music. I'm digging the music, bad man.
Yeah,
that is really cool. I like that a lot. Woo!
We got to let people know, Willie. He's important to us around here, so we have to mock him. That's how it is right now. Willie Waffle.
That's why you always mock the ones you love.
That's right. You mock them the worst, right? I mean, it's just
exactly.
Although it's guys, don't mock your wife. Okay, she loves you, but don't mock your wife. I'm just telling you, that's not a good. Mock your brother, mock your best friend. Don't mock your wife. That's it. Bad juju right there. All right, Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. No, forget the website. Anyway, Willie Waffle. Hello, my friend. How are you doing?
Hi. How are you? I don't know about you, but I've been going through my bank account and gathering my money together because somebody might need bail money, and I want to be the man there to save her.
I heard this. You're going to bail her out, Willie? Sydney Sweeney's going to jail? What?
Okay. So Sydney Sweeney has gotten herself in a little bit of hot water. Now, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating that she's going to jail, but she broke the law, and the law is coming after her, okay? So recently, what seems like last week, maybe over the weekend before, she filmed a whole bunch of footage for a promotional video that she put out about her new lingerie ad or her new lingerie company.
Okay.
And and because I'm a professional reporter, I checked out her Instagram and watched the video.
Of course you did. Of course you did. For science. For science.
For science. Yes. But what happened was she and a crew went to the Hollywood sign out in LA, and they covered it in all sorts of bras to promote the lingerie company. And they filmed this, and they filmed themselves, breaking through the fence and climbing up the hill and climbing all over the Hollywood sign. All these things you are not allowed to do.
Right.
All things which are considered trespassing and vandalism.
Right.
Now, this is where it gets kind of murky. So basically, the intellectual property rights to the Hollywood sign are owned by the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. You have to get permission from them to use or access the sign for commercial purposes, like filming a commercial for your lingerie brand. Now, the chamber says they didn't talk to us. They didn't ask us for permission. Now, it appears that she did get permission or got a permit to film up at the sign. Film LA, which is like the production arm of the LA government that issues these permits, but she didn't get permission to cut through the gate, climb up and down the sign, and leave bras all over it. Now, they did remove it all after they were done. They left a few behind, a little bit of litter bugging going on there. They left them behind, like on the ground. They didn't leave them on the sign itself. But all these things are not allowed, people. Like, it's one thing if the Hollywood sign is like in the background of a TV shoot or a movie shoot, right? It just happens to be there. We're setting the scene. But this was strictly for a commercial purpose.
Right.
The Hollywood Chamber of Commerce has a very good argument about their intellectual property rights being infringed upon.
Yeah.
And the LAPD probably has a pretty good evidence at this point that the vandalism took place, pardon me, and the trespassing took place. She's in trouble, man.
Oh, man.
Depending on how serious everyone wants to get. Oh, and by the way, again, because I'm a professional, the video is still up on her Instagram.
Just because it just, you
think you would get rid of the evidence.
I'm so surprised you didn't make the obvious joke here. I mean, come on, Willie, you're falling down. That's because that's one big bra. It's an H cup for the Hollywood sign. Anyway. Oh man. All right. Well, I doubt she'll be prosecuted. There'll be some kind of deal. She'll have to pay a fine, or she'll have to pay up to the Chamber of Commerce, or something. She's famous. Nothing to see here. Move along. It's gonna happen.
Very true. Yeah, no, for people who are familiar, you can hike up to the Hollywood sign. There are several trails that will lead you up to an area above the sign where you kind of look down and can see it, or even, from like a lower level, you can look up the hill. But what they did is they went through the unforbidden zone. And that's why they're in trouble.
Okay. Well, nothing will come of it. It is what it is. What are we going to do? It's interesting though. We'll see what happens. All right. Well, we got to move on. They can't make anything new. They just have to reboot, rehash, or make a sequel. And now they're doing it to one of the most beloved films of the late 80s, mid to late 80s. Dirty Dancing is going to be remade.
That's right.
It's two. It's not a remake. It's a sequel.
That's right. It's now, I don't know how it's going to be related to the other Dirty Dancing sequel that came out years ago that was just absolutely horrendous. This one is, so far right now, it's called Dirty Dancing 2. Yes, Jennifer Grey is back. You can't put baby in a corner. No, you cannot. She is going to be a producer of this thing. They have signed up a director. Allegedly, they have a script. They're going into production in the fall. I think that means they're either aiming for a summer release or something maybe in the fall of 2027. Now, we don't know what the story is going to be. We don't know, when it's going to be set. All that we know is that Jennifer Grey will be reprising her role as Frances Houseman. in the Dirty Dancing sequel. Now, I will tell you this. I live and grew up in the area not too far from the Catskills where this was set,
right?
Where all these resorts were set,
right?
They can't film down there anymore. That stuff's gone.
Wow.
That stuff fell into ruin throughout the 90s and the 2000s. A lot of it was torn down, rehabilitated. I don't know what they're going to do if they really think they're going to return to that area. But maybe the story is going to be she's taking her granddaughter on a vacation, and the granddaughter unleashes her dirty side. I don't know.
Oh man! Again, and of course, I don't even recognize Jennifer Grey because she had all that work
Nobody
done.
does.
She had all that work done to her face. I always thought she looked cute, super cute. She had the little bump nose and everything. I always thought that. No, she had. You can't even recognize her these days. It's crazy, but. And
it was one of the worst decisions ever, and allegedly she was pushed into it by her boyfriend Johnny Depp at the time.
Oh, geez. And here's the thing: she's 65. Holy cow! How did that happen?
Look at it all.
I know. How did that happen? It's crazy. All right. Well, Dirty Dancing sometime in the future. We'll see what happens. Dirty Dancing 2. But you got the numbers. You got the deets. You've got the receipts for the best. Well, not the best by quality, but the most popular streaming shows of 2025. Hit me with this.
All right, get ready. These are always fun for me to watch because you truly get a sense of everything that's available out on streaming and what people are really watching. So the Nielsen Company, known for their television ratings, revealed that the number one most streamed program in all of the land was Bluey on Disney Plus. Yes, Bluey at 45.2 billion minutes of viewing time.
Oh, my Lord.
And this is 2 years in a row that Bluey has been number one. Now, what came in number two? Grey's Anatomy at 40.92 billion minutes. Now, maybe one of the reasons for that is they have 450 episodes.
Yeah, okay.
They're available on Netflix and Hulu. You have to actively avoid Grey's Anatomy to not stream it. And what came in third, I think, is the one that everybody is going to be like, yep, I was waiting for you to mention this. Stranger Things. Stranger Things came in 39.95 billion minutes. The new season was 25 billion of that. But these numbers do not include the final episode that aired on December 31st. So with all of that, it would probably be even higher.
That's crazy. It's funny, Bluey, because I made a mention to a friend of Terry and mine's, and she's older than we are. She's probably 8-9 years older than we are. And we were having some kind of conversation, and I mentioned something about coming out, and my 20-year-old daughter was out on the couch late one night, and I'm like, what are you watching? She goes, it's Bluey. It's fun. I'm like, okay. And then I mentioned that to my friend. She goes, I watch Bluey. I'm like, you're 64 years old and you're watching Bluey. She goes, I know, but it feels good. I'm just like, okay, all right. And I will say, I have never watched a single episode of Grey's Anatomy, not in my entire life. So I've avoided it, and I'm going to take that to my grave. I will actively walk away. Not just for no other reason other than to prove Willie wrong that I'm not going to watch it. That's it right there. So
you're going to get caught one day.
Yeah.
You're going to come out and your daughter's going to be watching it, or your wife's going to be watching it, and you're going to be like, oh no, I've seen it. It's kind of like Whamageddon during the Christmas season.
Yeah.
You're just walking through the store one day, and all of a sudden you hear the music. You're like, no, they got me.
I got rickrolled by Wham. Anyway.
That's right.
Okay. Well, we're down to 4 minutes, so we're going to skip the last story.
Let's talk movies.
Let's talk movies. Right. So we got 3, 1 in theaters, 1 on Amazon Prime, and 1 on Disney Plus. Give me what you got here.
All right, so we got Disney Plus, a new TV series from the Marvel Universe. It is Wonder Man, and it is an 8-episode miniseries, all dumped by Disney Plus at one time. That's a big change for them, and it is about this young actor, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is his name, and not his name in the series, but that's his name in real life. And he has always been a fan of the Wonder Man cartoon character and superhero. And now they're making a TV series about it, and he wants to be in it. And along the way, he meets Ben Kingsley. He's returning. You might remember him from the Marvel Universe.
Right.
Well, and so they start to form this friendship as they're both trying to get on the show. And we learn that, Mr. Mateen has a secret. He has superpowers, and he's starting to lose control of them.
He really does have powers, and he's got the Mandarin. Yep. He's got the Mandarin next to him, right? That's what it is, the Mandarin or the Manchurian?
The Mandarin.
The Mandarin.
Right, yeah.
All right. It's a Marvel flick. What do you think, Willie? Have they run the course on this?
I'm at 2.5 waffles. I watched the first 3 episodes of the 5. I think that Mateen is extremely charming. You're going to really like him. It's more of a buddy show right now. Like, they're getting to learn each other. They're learning, their histories. They're becoming friends. And we haven't really gotten into the meat of the plot yet of why are they chasing after this guy just because he has superpowers, and why is he hiding them? And we're going to get into that, I think, in the next few episodes. So I'm at like 2.5 waffles.
Okay. All right. Well, what's next? We got about 2.5, 3 minutes here.
All right. Then we'll go with The Wrecking Crew on Amazon Prime. Yes, half brothers David Bautista and Jason Momoa have to reunite. And I'm telling you, this thing is this is every cliche that you've ever seen. This is the most formulaic movie I think I've watched in a lifetime, okay? Momoa's the bad boy cop who breaks all the rules. Batista's the guy who follows the rules. He's a Navy SEAL. He has a good reputation. They hate each other. They haven't seen each other in years. But now they're pulled together because their father has been killed, and they want to find out why. And there's tons of fight scenes, and there's wanton destruction, and cars are blowing up everywhere, and helicopters are shooting at stuff. And I'm just like, dude, I'm in. I'm at like 2 waffles. It is completely predictable. It is completely entertaining. I had a good time. 2 waffles.
It's a big bowl of popcorn movie. That's what it is right there. I can't wait to watch that. All right. And the one we talked about last week, we mentioned it at the end of the show, the new Rachel McAdams movie, Send Help.
Yes, so Rachel McAdams is kind of the mousy office worker who is extremely good at her job, but she's just kind of weird. I don't know how else to put it. She's not good with people. She's not the flashiest of dressers. She's not, the most dynamic of people, but she's very good at her job. And she was promised a promotion to vice president of the company, but the president dies and puts his son in charge. And his son is played by Dylan O'Brien. And he's a jerk. And he mocks her. And he makes fun of her, and he uses her because she does a lot of work, and then he can pawn off the credit on somebody else that he likes. Well, they get on a plane, they fly to Bangkok, but the plane crashes, and now they're stuck on a desert island, and she doesn't have to take his stuff anymore, my friends. Yeah, and that's where it gets interesting, and that's where it's a great hook. This is a great premise. And it starts off pretty cool, and you're really enjoying everything. You're enjoying the twist of fate, right? The way the tables have turned. I think the problem is it gets lost in the middle, and it's hard to wrap up this movie because, well, it's got to wrap up somehow. And how can you wrap it up in a way that would make her look good, not make her look bad? I mean, what do we want it to end? And I think there's a little confusion there. But I'm at 2.5 waffles. I think you should go see it if you got a chance.
All right, in theaters, Send Help. That's it for Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. Folks, we'll see you on Monday. Yeah, I watched the trailer for this, and I'm like, oh, my God. She's going, like, totally primal on him, like,
And that's the fun part. So, you learn this early on in the movie. I'm not going to give you anything too horrible, but he's always been a pampered little boy. He's been super rich, born on third base, thinks he hit a triple, running the company, and he has no survival skills whatsoever. She, however, reads books about survival. And he needs her more than he ever realized.
Oh my God, that's so great. So here she is, a survivalist, and he's some guy from the burbs, and she's like, oh, I want to see it. I can't wait to see it. I don't think I'll see it in the theaters, but I'll definitely be watching that when it hits the streams. What are we working?
Yeah, and I think it'll hit quick. I mean, I would say within 6 weeks, I think you're going to see it there.
Okay, good. I'm going to be watching The Wrecking Crew this weekend. What do you think about what do we got next weekend, Willie?
Oh my gosh, next weekend. What do we have next weekend? I can't believe I blanked on it. That's how great it's going to be. I've totally blanked on what it's going to be. Isn't this Solo Mio?
Yeah.
I think it's the big Kevin James movie where he's the guy that's left at the altar, and now he's going to go on that honeymoon anyways, and maybe find some true love along the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, Willie Waffle, a consummate professional, always prepared.
I totally blanked. I forgot what's coming out next week.
You know
I'm
what?
Sorry.
But
that is coming out next week.
Okay.
Once I thought about it for a minute, I remembered.
Okay, good.
You know,
you are getting older, so we're worried about that.
Yes.
All right.
Now I got to look and see what else is coming out next week. I know I got tickets to something.
He's got I got my tickets. He's got tickets.
Yeah, let's see what we got. No, that's 2 weeks from now. Well, you know, the Kevin James movie is coming out next week.
You're the best / worst. All right.
Yes.
All right, my friend. We'll see you next weekend. Thanks for coming on board. Have a great weekend yourself.
All right, I'll see you next week.
All right. Folks, gotta go. Out of time. We'll see you on Monday. It's gonna be good. We'll see you there.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.